Countdown. Hello, good morning to you. I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show, and I just sometimes when I think about people in the political arena today, I go into a history repeats itself mode. Certain individuals, certain characters, one could say that's such a person is today's version of whatever person from another time period. And when I look through the really ugly politics of the temporary alt-right, and I don't, when I say alt-right, I don't mean conservatives. I do not mean regular conservatives, whether they're neocons or they're even some paleocons or libertarians or what have you. There's a lot of nuances and there's a lot of ideological divide, just as there is on the left. Both the left and the right have different factions that they disagree on, sometimes on minor details, sometimes on really large burning issues. And it exists on the left and it exists on the right. Not all, there are leftists who are authoritarian, and there are some leftists. There are leftists who are really pro-democracy. Or pro-freedom, shall I say. Some who are bothered by, so I'm talking about those conservatives who are bothered by the terminology, the word democracy. And I will say in hindsight, there are those on the right that are divided between authoritarianism and those who adhere to the values of freedom or democracy, the way I interpret democracy. You could call it the Democratic left and the Democratic right, small d in either variation. And then there's the authoritarian left and the authoritarian right. And I actually will contend that there's an authoritarian center that we're all having to live under. And they're called the two-party system, and they're called business as usual. But what I want to talk about today is someone by the name of Nick Fuentes. And I have come to the conclusion that this kid is the Willis Carto of today. And for those who are not familiar with Willis Carto, he was a very shadowy figure on the American far right back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. And he died, I believe, in the year 2015. I believe it was 2015, maybe 2016. But suffice to say, what I have been listening to with regard to Nick Fuentes, it just occurred to me, this guy is the Willis Carto of today. That's not a compliment, and not by any stretch of the imagination. But I saw this interview with him recently, and it was kind of hilarious. So I will go and play a portion of this interview and comment further. Give me a couple of moments here. He's being interviewed by Sidney Watson. And let me go ahead and do this real fast. Aha.
Do you want to get married?
Yeah, I want to get married. But more out of necessity of like producing a male heir is really the whole point.
No, I'm just listening. I'm just observing. We can keep going. Continue.
We can keep going.
I would prefer to get a handle on what you think from your mouth.
It's very Chinese, even though, just only men, so he doesn't want any female children. It's very Chinese.
Yeah. I think they're awake on this question. I mean, as far as like marriage
goes,
goes,
about population control there rather than.
it's like the old world stuff about like a dowry and like kindred stuff and all that. But at least for me, it's sort of like a pride thing. Like I want to produce a male heir to take.
Okay.
Take on my name, take on my legacy and all that. And marriage is sort of pursuant to that goal. But I don't know about this whole prospect of like living with a woman for the rest of my life. Like, it sounds good at first. It sounds like kind of fun or interesting. You don't have to do laundry. You don't have to worry about kind of taking care of the house. But then the prospect of just like it goes on and it's decade after decade after decade. I don't know how thrilled I am with that whole idea. I'm kind of a solitary individual. I like my privacy. I like my autonomy, and just the idea of like nagging GF, nagging wife. Little nightmares to me.
Do you have a relationship with your mom?
I love my mom. Yeah, I love my mom.
And does your mom stay at her mom? What does she do?
Yeah, she works now, but when me and my sister were growing up, she raised me. She quit her job to stay at home and raise us.
And what's your sister like? Do you get along with her?
Yeah, she's my twin. She's probably the opposite of me. She's more sort of introverted. Yeah,
do you respect women?
Of course.
But you just don't want them to have any rights.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they shouldn't have rights.
But if I'm understanding your question correctly, if you don't want to vote or have an existence akin to what they would have in, say, Saudi Arabia, you would say that in large part, then they don't really have rights.
I would say probably the ideal is something more like Afghanistan, if I'm being totally honest. Like recent
Afghanistan then and Saudi Arabia.
Like the brutality, I guess it's like a slightly more brutal. Of course, Taliban rule, not American rule. I'm talking about recent Afghanistan.
So you want women to have the same treatment as women have under Taliban rule in Afghanistan?
Something approximating that, yeah, because you think about the Taliban and what they're able to achieve. Here you have these guys with nothing but some light arms and rags, and 20 years, and they were able to defeat the largest military in history. I think that has something to do with the fact that they weren't like distracted. They weren't distracted with the kinds of things we are in America. They weren't being mad. They weren't being bossed around by women. And now they've got the society where there's this brutality, like I said, this old world sort of order. When you bring up like voting, I don't see really voting as a right, if I'm being totally honest. Like it's not just women. There's a lot of people that really shouldn't be voting anymore. Maybe people that don't own property, young people that work like retail jobs. Like as an example, really,
the service that you're getting, it's like, man, you need to get my change right. I don't ever get
No,
the president of the
I
United
was in
States.
the Lowe's area, and a young man helped me. He was actually a fan of both of us. He was super lovely. I would like him to vote. He was great. He was very clever.
Well, the thing about retail or these service jobs is like, you look at these young people, it's a lot of millennials, Generation Z, and they really don't know how things work. You know what I mean? Like if you own a business, if you own property, even if you're a homeowner, you kind of have an idea of like how things work, like where things come from, and some idea of like how the economy works. And if your whole life is like, okay, you're in school, you're a student, you pay rent, you know what I mean? Like you don't even manage like how your apartment runs. Like how should you have a say in how the country is run? You don't even really know how anything comes together in society. So the old way in America was that it was, of course, property, white men. It was a very narrow group of people that were able to vote. And that's because the Founding Fathers didn't really believe in mass democracy, universal suffrage. They believed in checks and balances. And kind of voting was a part of like checking the power of the ruling class or the regime with the power of the people. But they weren't under any illusions about this idea that like every person should have a vote. One man, one woman, one child, one vote. They didn't believe that. So that's not how the country was founded. That's not how the system was set up. And that was for a reason. So I think it was a big mistake in the past 100 years to just open it up to everybody. We have to think about how we're going to have competent government and who's going to make those choices. And we have to think competent people should be making those choices.
If I were to ask you, let's start with rights. Let's start with access to something very simple. Little amendment. So 19th Amendment, right? Let's start there. All right. Day one gone.
It shouldn't be there.
I have a question though. Have you ever lived in any other country besides the United States?
Nope.
Okay, so when you talk about many of these things, these are just from an observational standpoint where you've done a lot of reading and observed a bunch of things, and then arrived at your conclusions based on that.
Yeah.
But you have no practical experience living under, say, more authoritarian rule.
No, well, I mean, I already live under something like authoritarianism in America. I'm on the no-fly list. I'm being persecuted. The thing is about authoritarianism is it can't be condemned in itself, because the character of the regime isn't really authority. The authority is colored by the people that are in authority.
Not to interrupt you, sorry, but just to back up for a second. So you're currently on a no-fly list based on the authoritarianism that's going on in the country.
Right.
Now that authoritarianism you could argue is from the left, and the left are very happy that they have that authoritarianism. So what you want is right-wing authoritarianism.
Yeah.
But your issue is with left-wing authoritarianism.
The problem is not authoritarianism. The problem is leftism.
What about the people on the left who think of you and go, I don't live under his rule of law? Because obviously there are people who don't.
Well,
think like
this is the essence of politics. This is the essence of politics, is that there is an us and there is a them. There are right-wing people and there are left-wing people, and people have varying identities with different levels of salience. But yes, the problem is that we are not in control of the regime. Ultimately, the problem is not the regime itself or power, because the thing is, and this is the problem, is that conservatives are sort of naive about power. Power, is not, we're not getting rid of it anytime soon. This idea of like, take over the government to let everybody go and free the people. It's like there will always be concentrated, centralized power, and the question is, well, who's going to wield it? Are we going to forfeit the playing field to the left? This is essentially what conservatives have done because they're averse to rule. Like when conservatives get in control of Congress or the presidency, what do? Do they go aggressively like the left does and wield the bureaucracy and wield the Congress? Or do they kind of just, well, we're going to cut your taxes, we're going to do this and that, and then the left comes in with a vengeance and they say, we're going to use environmental regulations to take your gun rights, and we're going to use the IRS to go after, conservative nonprofits, and we're going to do this, we're going to solidify our rule, and then we are going to set the tone for the country. And conservatives then, even like when Trump gets into office, it's like, what do we accomplish in the first 2 years? When we had Congress, we had the courts, we had the White House, we did a corporate tax cut, barely repealed Obamacare. That's about it. We should have built a wall. We should have went after the endowments for the universities. We should have targeted left-wing institutions. We should have opened up the libel laws and went after the media. So, conservatives just aren't playing the game. We've got to wake up to the reality of power politics, engage, and play.
Well, I'm sorry for the fast speed there. It's a very long interview, but just a couple of things about Nick Fuentes, and let's see. Hold on a sec. Making some notes here because I want to share some more what I have to say with regard to this person. Okay, let's see. All right. Think about it as you heard what he said about women's treatment in Afghanistan. The way the Taliban treats women, he's sort of wanting that model here in this country. And, that's a major strike one there. You heard what he says about property owners having only voting rights, and that's really restricted to white property owners, which is why he prefers a republic to a democracy. Now, at least he's honest in what he's espousing, even though I disagree with it. Now, I don't agree with him being on a no-fly list or deplatform across the board, because I just don't believe that. I think that targeting people for their politics on the internet is just awful, and I think that if more Americans saw the nonsense that he espoused, that they would be more and more turned off by such views. I am, unfortunately, a minority on the left when it comes to this sort of thing. I'm not like an extreme fringe minority on the left over the issue, but broadly speaking, this is one of the few issues where I find fault overall on the left, not all on the left, because as I said yesterday, in response to Sticks, Hex and Hammer 666, with regard to censorship by the censorship against the left that's been taking place lately, is that that I do not believe in censorship against anybody, on the right, on the left, or in the center. I am absolutely appalled by it, and I resent acting as if one side, which I'm on, which is on the left, as being one monolith, and that we all think the same. And because I don't think that all people on the right thinks the same either. And but he is honest. He favors an authoritarianism of the right wing. And as I said, it's cringy to hear somebody say it, but you have to respect the honesty, because I run across so many on the right who desires authoritarianism, and they just go and proclaim themselves as the most pro-liberty and most pro-freedom person around, and it's just not true. I'm not saying this is everyone on the right's guilty of this. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people on the right who claim they're for freedom and they're for liberty, and then when a push comes to shove, they're not. And my problem with the left is that the left don't take, a lot of people on the left, they just hear that talk about liberty and take it at face value that that's what the right believes in, and they get contrarian, and they're like, freedom is overrated. I mean, they don't exactly say that, but that's what it's implied, or that's how people look at the left. And the left needs to, in the name of public relations, the left needs to show to everyone that we're on the side of actual freedom. We're on the side of actual liberty. That the left is actually, when it comes right down to it, if you're truly on the left, you're more libertarian than the people in the Libertarian Party, or people who espouse libertarianism on the right. Remember, libertarianism was actually a left-wing terminology initially. So, but the thing about it is, and I'm not saying that those who are libertarian on the right, I'm not saying they're all a bunch of scumbags or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that to be on the left, we need to be the ones showing to the people we're on the side of liberty, we're on the side of freedom, and that means you being an individual as much as possible. with free expression and you being the kind of person you want. You can love whomever you want. You can marry whomever you want. Women have autonomy over their own bodies and reproductive destiny. This sort of thing. It comes down to, and at the same time, we need to show that not everybody, again, on the right are all a bunch of scumbags or what have you. But we need to, for our own self-preservation, we have a public relations battles, as I said, that we need to pursue and win in the battle of ideas. Now, free speech. He basically said that he's not in favor of free speech, the opening up the libel laws. Donald Trump said that too when he was campaigning for president. Because Donald Trump wants to, successfully win a lawsuit against Bill Maher, who I'm not particularly a fan of these days, by the way. But he made a joke about comparing Donald Trump to an orange orangutan. And the thing about it is that that's a bullshit reason to sue people, But I didn't play this interview all the way through, but I'm not trying to belittle him, but in the video, and I'll put down the link below, so if you have the patience, you'll hear the part where he more or less admits that he's a virgin. And the thing about it is that he's a young kid, born 1998. So, to make fun of somebody who's a virgin that's 23, 24 years old, that's probably more commonplace. And in our society, people do look down on it and everything. And, he probably could have, I would say he probably would have been laid a little earlier in life if he didn't have such ass backwards points of view. It comes down to that. So, maybe you can feel sorry for him in a way, but gosh, those Neanderthal points of view about women is not exactly going to get him any pussy anytime soon. He needs to re-examine and sincerely re-examine his views on women. So, but the thing about it is that I just wanted to talk about this guy here. As I said before, this guy, Nick Fuentes, is, he's, more or less a white nationalist these days. He started off in mainstream conservatism, and as I said, here he is, and you'll see what I was saying, that he's like the Willis Carto today. This is him, pretty much in the year 2021, referring to Nick Fuentes. Shall I say that and he's kind of bad news in a lot of ways with regard to what he believes in. And so anyway, let's see here. All right, so let's see, and I'm not trying to insult Charlie Kirk, but imagine if Charlie Kirk, he's sort of like a bridge between the Charlie Kirk right, which is the more shall I say mainstream responsible right, or I'm no fan of Charlie Kirk, but he's sort of like the bridge between what you would call a responsible rightist and someone as horrible as someone like, I don't know, someone like this guy Richard Spencer, who is with the alt-right, and if you were to cross someone like Charlie Kirk with Richard Spencer, you would definitely have someone like Nick Fuentes, who I say is he is more or less the what you call the Willis Carto of today. And hold on here. And as I said, this is Willis Carto, which I will go into a brief history about this dark, shadowy figure from the of the far right over the years. Let's see. Well, as you can see here, this is Willis Carto, who lived from 1926 until 2015, almost looking like Pat Buchanan in a way, and that's basically describes him in a nutshell. I mean, late Willis Carto was sort of like a bridge, so to speak, between a paleoconservative person like a Pat Buchanan or Phyllis Schlafly, and bridged it over toward something dark and menacing like William Luther Pierce or David Duke or someone like that. So this is like the bridge between your Jesse Helms, your Phyllis Schlafly, your Pat Buchanans, who too extreme for me. All three of them too extreme for me. Versus somebody as ugly with the politics of William Luther Pierce or David Duke or someone like that. George Lincoln Rockwell, and in the 1950s, he worked for the National Review briefly. William Buckley went and cracked down on the actual racism and anti-Semitism that kind of permeated very mainstream within conservative circles back then, and so he kind of did his own thing, and he went into the John Birch Society, for example, and in the late 1960s, in 1968, he and other hardline racists decided to back Governor George Wallace for president with the American Independence Party. And they set up what was called Youth for Wallace. And after that election, Youth for Wallace became the National Youth Alliance, which is supposed to be like a right-wing version of Students for a Democratic Society in the 1960s. And then there was a leadership struggle between William Pierce and Willis Carto, and William Pierce took over and became the Neo-Nazi National Alliance by the mid-1970s. And so this is the kind of person, Nick Fuentes, to me, he sort of represents that type of person today. So it's just kind of amazing how history repeats itself, and you see certain individuals sort of filling in the roles of people from the past, and that's what it comes down to. You take somebody as positive from my perspective, like Bernie Sanders on the left, not as base as he used to be in my eyes, but he is still probably one of the more positive people in mainstream politics today. He sort of filled in the shoes of what I would call a social democratic trinity of Eugene Debs, Norman Thomas, and I think that Bernie Sanders sort of follow with that tradition. Anyway, you got people that sort of, sort of history repeating itself. There are people that looked at Donald Trump as the new Reagan, back during his brief 4 years as president. I would say that, I don't like Trump, but I would say that in a lot of ways Reagan was more toxic, because he changed the conversation, and the New Deal consensus was gone because of Reagan. And Reagan really, although Reagan would be looked upon as a moderate Republican by today's standards of a Republican Party. He started the trend where the Republican Party started to have all the kooky crazies out of the woodworks. So because of Ronald Reagan, we ended up with people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who makes Phyllis Schlafly back in the day look like Gloria Steinem. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And as I said, and Joe Biden, he ain't no FDR. very much not. So we need to look back in history and see trends where we see things sort of repeating itself, and hopefully it won't get any worse, and we can go and see what's going on and take it from here. I see we have a chat line here. Invalid ARG, how are you this morning? Thank you for the compliment. As I said, I'm interested in good figures and bad figures alike, reading into what they're all about in regard to history. Dirtbag Leftist, good morning. I heard your name called on Cabela last night from Harlan's Media. He had a very great commentary on what's wrong with the Democratic Party and how forced to vote turned out to be, how Jimmy Dore and all of, turned out to be correct when it came to things like forced to vote. And contrary to what a lot of shitlibs think of Jimmy Dore is not a white nationalist. My God, what in the world's come? People act like you should criticize a mainstream Democrat. You're a white nationalist now. This is what it's coming down to. It's just really crazy, and to label people who are actually to the left of the political spectrum in this country, and to go and make these accusations is really nuts what's going on. But anyway, if you all like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are in fact the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, help make this channel grow. And until next time, I wish each and every one of you a great day. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you all, and we'll see you again next time.